Blending cinematic storytelling with an intimate cultural exploration, Food Roots follows Billy Dec as he journeys through his mother's native islands of the Philippines in search of the last living elders, ancestral recipes, and long-held family stories. Traveling by plane, boat, motorcycle, and you name it, he explores all of the different cultural and culinary and family traditions that you could imagine. It's a beautifully done film called Food Roots, and we're joined today by the director, Michele Josue, as well as the subject, Billy Dec. Billy and Michele, welcome to Cinemaphile.
Thank you so much. It's so good to be here.
Thank you. Yeah, terrific work. And I was mentioning to Michele her previous work with Nurses Unseen about the Philippine community, often overlooked, especially when it comes to caregiving and so much of the contribution of the Filipino community to us all. Tell me a little bit about how you were approached, or how did this, Billy, let's start with you. How did this
Yeah.
begin?
So I started stalking Michelle approximately. We were fortunate, or at least I was fortunate, to be asked to join a panel on a Asian film fest that was in Chicago, and I was about a year into an initial draft of the documentary, solely piecing together all of these cooking segments essentially as I was trying to learn the recipes of my ancestors while traveling through the Philippines. And I knew it was great content, but I'd seen it before, whether it was from doing cooking segments on the Today Show or other things, or watching food travel shows that were already out there. So it was okay. I just didn't feel like it was groundbreaking or truly did the culture in the country and the people and our families justice. And I started becoming enamored with Michelle and the way in which she was talking about her projects that she had done in the past. Like Matthew Shepard is a friend of mine, and some things she had on Netflix, like Happy Jail. And I literally begged her for help afterwards. I just was like, will you talk to me? Could we get together and can I share? And she was very open-minded and open-armed and allowed me to share not only the footage but my family story. And we had a lot of interesting commonalities, but also amazing differences. And I almost felt like she was my sister, and she understood me, combined with her amazing background, talent, expertise. It just made for this really wonderful partnership and collaboration.
Well, Michele, what was your reaction to Billy's
Well,
approach?
all of that is so very kind. I'm really lucky and blessed to have crossed paths with Billy and to get involved with such a beautiful project. So, yes, we met on a panel and just really found common ground in wanting to share Filipino and Filipino American centered stories on a broader level, so that we could reach the mainstream and let people know more about what it's like to be Filipino and how beautiful and rich our culture and heritage is. So it's just been a really lovely few years being on this journey with Billy and the whole team, exploring his food roots. And I really think it's amazing how when audiences see the film, no matter what their background is, they come away with a similar emotional understanding and want to reflect on their own food roots and their personal memories and personal histories. So I'm very fortunate to be involved in such a poignant story.
Yeah, and makes this such a beautiful experience is we're finding out things as Billy is finding out things about his family, about the traditions of the Philippines, especially when it comes to cooking. There's a lot here that I would have had no idea existed until I saw this. And just to watch you, Billy, go through your journey in this is really powerful. And also for many Americans, I don't think we have an appreciation of our relationship to the Philippine Islands. And we have a complicated relationship with the Philippines, shall we say. At one time, I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, Billy, that it was considered a territory of the United States, was it not? Do I have that
Yes.
right?
I'm so glad you're bringing this up because as someone who, like Michelle, grew up in America as a Filipino American, it blows my mind how many Americans, including Filipino Americans, don't really understand the depth of the relationship that goes back generations relative to all the other countries and all the other cultures that people seemingly visit and or know about or obsess about. There is literally nothing, or worse, regurgitated stereotypes or misinformation that isn't helpful and maybe hurtful. So that wasn't necessarily in my mind as we did any of this. But as we go to theaters and are in these film fests across the country, now it's broadcasting globally, it's like we're getting folks saying what you just brought up. Like it made me think about that relationship with this country that we really don't know much about, yet we've done so much with, and we've relied on them for so much. It wasn't part of the plan, but really glad people are beginning to think about that.
The attack on Pearl Harbor was something I just recently heard. I mean, it was sort of in the context of that, that the Philippines were also attacked by the Japanese in that same foray into basically before World War II. And I don't know how to get into this, but basically, just to your point, Billy,
Let's do
and
it. Let's go down the hole.
well, okay, the rabbit hole is the Philippines were part of an American empire that we never talked about. So was Hawaii, so were Puerto Rico, so many different territories around the world that we've never really essentially fully explained and or kind of given it some context. And given that the Philippine people were just coming out of being conquered by the Spanish, and then we came in, there's a lot here. And in the context of this film, there's a lot of those influences that we see in the culinary part of what we see. There's a lot, but nonetheless, I don't want to drag us down into a conversation that you don't want to get into, but I just think we need to. I really brought it up to me that we need to.
Bring up Pearl Harbor, you talk about World War II. The president of the United States goes to the Philippines and asks, will you please fight on behalf and with the
Yeah.
American people? Over 250,000 Filipinos sign up. And in that, they promised, citizenship and other benefits, only to, of course, say to those that returned, if they live, that they decided not to follow through with that deal and that promise. And it was
Yeah.
only until decades later, and it just so happened it wasn't because of me or the people I was appointed with, but when I was appointed by President Obama, that it wasn't until our last final months, that particular administration, that we were able to get these folks that were promised their benefits for fighting on behalf of the United States and with the United States, what they were promised, or at least, those that were living. That's a big thing to just not know or sweep under the rug. And I think it says a lot about, bringing it back to the movie, a lot about the character almost of the Philippines and the things that I learned relative to the way in which they wanted to care for and create meaningful relationships with folks and express love and express connectivity and perseverance and loyalty and all these things that sort of ran through the culture, the heritage, and the DNA and the identity of sort of my family on up, as a reflection of that, being part of that.
Yeah. Michelle, did you want to add anything to was this part of your thinking as you're creating this document, or because the first thing that came to mind when it was discussed, I think it was your mom who left the Philippines when Marco took over, right? So it's sort of like, okay, there's kind of a political context to your family story here.
Yes, thanks, Mike. That's really insightful, and I really appreciate you bringing up some of that context because I do believe it's a sort of overarching cloud, for lack of a better word, over both this film and Nurse Unseen, which I was working on around the same time. Being Filipino and being Filipino American, we very intimately understand this tension of what it's like to be in America, but also have ties to the Philippines and what that does to someone growing up. And that's what really probably drew me to drawing out more layers within Billy's story for the film. Just wanting to explore the nuance of what it's like to navigate both of these identities and what colonial mentality might still be floating around, especially as we go through adolescence and into adulthood. And it's all just fascinating how all that trickles down into our food. Billy definitely talks in the film about how Filipino food is a mix of all different types of influences, the Spanish, as you talked about, Japanese, Chinese, Indian influences. So all of this history is just imbued in every aspect of what it means to be Filipino and Filipino American. So as a filmmaker, I feel it's sort of my responsibility to kind of show what that is like within our stories in a very intimate and personal way. So while it might not be overt, it's definitely something that touches all of my most recent films, especially this film, Food Roots.
Thank you. Thank you for talking about this. I also want to emphasize to anyone listening to our conversation what a joyous journey we're on with you, Billy, to uncover or to reconnect with the roots of your family, the people in it, the Lolas. There's so much here to enjoy, to see all of the celebration of life that I really felt that I was getting from your journey into this film.
Yeah, I love hearing all of the excitement and praise reviews from the folks that are adventure travelers, or foodies or, tattoo enthusiasts. I mean, there's so many people that are coming out of the woodworks that are like, that was the most adventurous journey I've been on ever. Or I was really tense. I've never cried, laughed, and was starving in one moment. You know what I mean? Like there's a lot of emotional excitement and at the same time that we're also balancing some real meaningful heaviness at this, simultaneously, which is why I think the sort of storytelling, the weaving of that Michele did in pulling all of these things together is really a gift.
There's a particular person in the film who, for me, embodies what you just described. And if I screw up his name, please correct me. Kalel Demetrio.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah, that's
I
great. You
felt
hit
like he was what we're talking about in the micro and in the macro.
Man, he definitely is a force, especially in the room. And I think that translated, I guess you're proving that now, is he really left an impression. Such a courageous idea of what would cocktails be like if the hundreds and hundreds of years of multiple cultural colonization or influence never occurred? What
Yeah.
would the indigenous, untouched version of that be after being lost in that idea for so long? Thought about it here too. Just what would that be, even in America? What a fascinating thought. And to go out there and, into the mountains and the beach towns and the cities and the villages to find with his own hands and his eyes and nose and search out the ingredients and collect them in jars and create these compositions that were so beautiful. It's fascinating. Super.
Michelle, is that a fair my observation? Was he one of the people that really lit the fire on this film? It did for me.
I mean, yes, Laquito Maestro is an amazing talent, and I've been to that bar after the film was finished multiple times just because I wanted just to be in the presence of such celebration and such creativity. And his drinks are amazing. But to your point, there's a lot of painful things and sort of tragic things that we talk about throughout the story, but hand in hand with that, there's so much to be joyous about. There is so much happiness and creativity throughout the entire film, and so many people in the film really embody that. Like being around Billy's family is so much fun. They laugh so much with their entire bodies. And it's just so great to be around. So I'm glad that you were able to pick up on that because Filipinos are the best and so much fun.
Absolutely, I wouldn't argue that at all. In fact, and I've without in the couple of minutes we have left, I do also want to touch on the traditions that you are talking about, and no one in my mind in the film better exemplifies that than Apo Wang Od.
Apo Wang Ad.
What a amazing experience just to get to see her and what she's about. Let's talk a little, Billy. Let's talk a little bit about her. She's amazing.
Yeah, that was more unexpected than anything. I didn't have the connectivity or the relationship or the memories that would sort of lead me into, wherever I was going with respect to family. This was a more of a folklore story that was hard to believe. A 103-year-old at the time, now 109, and still doing it, tattoo artist,
Is
a
she
woman
still with
that
us? She's still with us, is what you're
still
saying.
with us, still with us at 109. The story goes that folks, especially in times of attack and colonization and they would go into the hills and hide in these mountains to protect their families and their traditions and their art. And she is just this sort of embodiment of the last remaining untouched original version of storytelling on the body through this tapping tattoo technique. And there's so much folklore and story around it. You're going to go off the grid. You're not going to have phone service for 2 days or internet service for 2 days. And if you get there, and there were times where the roads were eroding and you could have slid off the mountain and there's no hospital for days. And we actually had the problems where we couldn't get half our crew up the mountain after going down and up a couple times to get to this particular location. The idea that she's living above the clouds, which I then got to see once I was up there, which I'm not used to. It was a very transformative experience. I had already gone through the journey that you saw. So this was sort of this moment where 7,641 islands, if you can see the line that goes from Baguio to Ilocos, and that approximate distance on a map it's almost equal to where we were going in Kalinga. I just didn't take into account my ignorance of not knowing where I was and being completely foreign to the idea that there were these rural mountains. And it was just didn't know what this was going to happen. And so didn't know anything really, just sort of was guided. I don't know how to explain it. And I think when I look back at my face, it's different. I was sort of like in a zone. In fact, the whole thing's really interesting. Food roots, you really start with food. It's very food centric right up front. And that journey sort of ends with not really any sort of recipe based scenes. You know what I mean? In the third, at least in the Philippines. So we were going just down to the idea of roots and story. And that was, I feel like I was in a bit of a trance at times, perhaps, maybe because of the stake that was being hammered into my chest with the blood and all things, which is not, I'm not used to that. And, but what a gift. And they call it a blessing. And I think that's the perfect word for it. It's something is super meaningful to me. I cannot believe I was able to do that. I don't know if I could do it again. Like that journey was something. I mean, if Michelle was like, let's go get tattoos together, I'm usually down for whatever. Yeah. But I don't know. That's not normal. It's not easy. And I don't know if I could. I'm just really blessed to have had once in my life.
Well, Michelle, you were there to capture it. I'm sure the challenges as a filmmaker, as well as just getting up there and getting to where you needed to be to document this, had to be daunting. And I say this all the time about filmmakers, documentary filmmakers, understanding a good story, having the instinct to follow it and through the adversity or whatever challenges you face. Michelle, you did a fantastic job of capturing this experience.
Thanks, Mike. I had a great team and a great protagonist to work with. So I am blessed, to borrow your word, Billy. Documentarians, we're rich in experiences, not necessarily money. But these types of experiences are amazing. And I'm very honored to be a part of projects just like this.
Well, congratulations on this. People can actually see Food Roots, I believe, on PBS right now. It's at pbs.org.
So it's on PBS and American Public Television.
Okay.
Streaming also on American Public Television. I'm sorry, streaming also on PBS. and my YouTube channel, which is just youtube.com/@BillyDecLife, which will be there for forever in case it's not available anymore on PBS.
Well, you will be able to see that at Cinemaphile with Mike Caspar.
Oh.
It'll be at that website as well. Fantastic work, and I congratulations on this. And Michelle, anytime. Billy, anytime.
Thanks, Mike.
You both lead these remarkable lives, and you're following your passion. It feels like both of you are following your passion, whatever it is. So,
Oh,
Michelle's the
appreciate
creator.
that.
I'm sure you'll see her many times over.
yes,
With the podcast.
yeah, no
Fingers
kidding.
crossed. Fingers
Yeah.
crossed.
Well, very much congratulations. We've been talking with the director of this fantastic documentary called Food Roots, and that would be Michele Josue, as well as the subject and producer of Food Roots, and that would be Billy Dec. Thank you both for your work on Food Roots, and thank you for your time here on Cinemaphile. Thank you both.
Thank you so much.
Thanks,
Thank
Mike.
you.